Welcome to another episode of The Man Shacks. I'm JJ.
And I'm Sarah.
And we're those people that do this podcast.
Yep. That quirky Christian couple with
cute kids.
Cute kids and comedic, quippy conversations.
I think if we allow ourselves to make it longer every time, it will get untenable real quick.
That's true.
Oh, but I am excited for both our discussion. We got a great hot topic and our fantastic stories. Well, I don't know if your stories are fantastic. My stories are pretty fantastic.
Let's hope.
Are you ready to approach the news desk?
I am.
Why don't you go first?
All right. So really the only reason I chose this article was just the title alone.
Yes.
So, Tesla plunges into a Norwegian fjord. Occupants are rescued by floating sauna.
So Tesla, not the company, but the car. Someone drove a car into the water.
Uh-huh.
Is a fjord? I don't know what a fjord actually is, other than in Frozen, it's the place where Arendelle is. That's all I know.
It's
but
like a bay almost.
Oh, yeah.
So
the car goes into the water. And then a floating
It
sauna?
was rescued. The two occupants were rescued by a floating sauna. The electric vehicle drove into the Oslo Fjord at the Akershusstranda. I don't know how that word is very long.
We'll pretend that's...
An area where ships dock, and video recorded by witnesses shows the driver and a passenger climbing on top of the car to stay out of the frigid water. They ended up being rescued by the crew and guests of one of the city's floating saunas.
So it's like a tourist boat or something.
Yep.
Wow.
It says the sauna boat's captain was told that there was a car that had landed in the water, so I accelerated at full speed in the direction of the people. With the help of two guests who pulled them up, they were able to warm up in the sauna.
That's literally the greatest boat to ever save someone.
This is the most Norwegian thing ever to happen. So it just says the people did not appear to be injured. The Tesla ended up in the water when he accidentally pushed down the accelerator when he thought the vehicle was in park. Wow, yeah.
I love that it was a sauna boat, though, because, if you plunge into icy cold water, what better boat?
So bizarre.
That's the greatest boat to catch
it's like
ever.
A flat little pond, like a flat little floating thing with like a square sauna.
Can I tell you, when you said floating sauna, my brain imagined like an ice shanty on a little mini iceberg, like floating around. So you're saying it's like a little hut in a flat pontoon boat kind of a thing? It looks like I imagined it. That's amazing.
Just a little square box floating on a little platform. Like those floating docks that people toss out in the water.
And that's it. And it was like, I see the car. Mm-hmm. For me, the scariest thing about a car going into the water is not so much the icy coldness of the water, which I'm sure was terrible, but getting the windows open.
Oh my gosh, it's terrifying.
The pressure of the water, you're stuck inside that car. You have to break a window or something. Oh my gosh. Can you imagine the cost of your car? Like, you have to haul it out. Those are expensive cars.
An electric car, yeah.
And I'm assuming the car's ruined. Like, you're not supposed to dunk a car in the water. I laked my car.
What do you think it means, Jerry? I drove a car into a lake. Anyways, that happened.
Two. We have a Parks and Rec reference and an Office reference.
It's true.
I drove my car into the lake because the computer told me to. Oh, I love it. That's fantastic. I'm just so happy for them that they got saved by a sauna boat.
It's true.
A sauna boat. So let me ask, how do you feel about doping in the Olympics?
How do I feel about doping?
Yeah, like using steroids in the Olympics.
Yeah, I know what it is. Obviously it's wrong.
Terrible, right?
Yeah.
Just horrifying. But what if it wasn't illegal?
What?
What if the goal of the Olympics was, let's see what we can get the human body to do?
Oh, jeez.
And we allow all the steroids and all the doping.
It's terrifying.
Yes, billionaire Peter Thiel bankrolling, literally, quote-unquote, Olympics on steroids that allows athletes to dope.
Nope.
They are putting together a world competition that allows athletes to dope. So, Silicon Valley billionaire Peter Thiel is throwing his financial muscle behind the Olympics on steroids, whose organizers boast that athletes will dope out in the open and honestly. So this guy, he made his fortune as an early investor in PayPal and Facebook.
Sure.
You know? And he is now backing something called the Enhanced Games. That's what they're called, the Enhanced Games, actively encouraging athletes to use performing-enhancing drugs.
This just sounds like an unhealthy idea.
Oh my gosh, it's horrifying. The venture, aimed at aiding research into nutritional supplements and biohacks that push the boundaries of human experience, is the brainchild of Dr. Aaron D'Souza, a lawyer by training who famously conceived his lawsuit against Gawker Media, which I've never heard of. So he's a lawyer. They call him doctor, but he's a lawyer. And he's the guy who thought of this.
Wow.
There's several high-profile capitalists who have backed the project. D'Souza would not reveal how much money was raised, telling the Post that it was a high single-digit millions, a sum that is enough to produce the first games.
Wow.
So they've thrown together like $9 million.
That's ridiculous.
To put these games on, the Enhanced Games.
And they're funding the dope as well, like all of the drugs. Because that's probably what the millions are going.
The steroids?
Seriously. If I'm going to participate in these games, do I have to bring my own steroids?
I think if you are destroying your body for like the rest of your life, right? I mean, these people will have to live with the consequences, because it's not just that it's unfair; it's that it ruins people.
It can be very unhealthy. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's no good. The Enhanced Games are negotiating with several host cities that have requisite infrastructure, though he declined to specify which venue will host the inaugural competition. They're expecting it to be announced in Paris a few months, like a month or two before the actual Olympics, which do not allow
because it's
doping.
About fair competition, not.
Yep. The Enhanced Games. They will be able to use whatever substances they wish, unlike at the Olympics where 44%. Oh, interesting. Unlike at the Olympics, where 44% of Olympians admit to using banned substances, while only 1% get caught. So they're saying that the Olympians do it. We're just being more honest about it.
It's horrifying.
My guess is that statistic for 44% of Olympians use banned substances is like Michael Phelps and his marijuana.
Oh,
it's a banned substance, but it's not actually. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
I'm guessing that that's something like that. It's not actually, you know.
How do you get that statistic, though? I feel like that's one of those situations where it's made up.
44% say that they, I mean, you asked them and they told you that they used a banned substance and nobody got in trouble? Like, how did you, what? D'Souza predicted that the Enhanced Games would do for anti-aging what ChatGPT did for AI. That just seems like a nonsense sentence.
It is a nonsense sentence.
It doesn't even
It's a non-sentence.
Thiel himself takes a human growth hormone to help maintain muscle mass, as well as an anti-diabetes drug, metformin, which has grown popular in the anti-aging community. The anti-aging community. Do you remember those old Resident Evil movies? Right?
I've never seen them.
No, you've never seen it? Oh, well,
Does that seem like my kind of movie? Be realistic,
it's true.
JJ.
You're not really a zombie.
I'm not really an action movie / zombie movie person. So,
but anyway, like the whole point was like there was this crazy corporation and they were trying to create something that causes no aging, and they made zombies.
Yeah, that doesn't. That's very interesting.
Fascinating,
Wow.
right? The Enhanced Games, Olympics on steroids.
I think it sounds like a terrible idea. I don't know that I really want to watch it because it doesn't seem.
Oh no,
fair.
I wouldn't want to watch that. No, I don't want to endorse any of that because these people's bodies will be destroyed. There's a reason these drugs are not allowed.
Oh, it's a terrible idea.
Like nobody's banning vitamin supplements or things that are actually healthy for the athletes. They're banning substances that will wildly increase your help you while hurting you.
In other ways.
It might be a candidate for worst idea of the year. I think we should make up an award.
Categories for that, yeah.
Worst idea of the year. That's up there.
Wow. All right, well, my next story is pretty much just Australian police rescue a 3-year-old who got stuck inside a Hello Kitty claw machine. And there's a picture of a little boy.
Yes.
Inside the claw machine game.
Nice. We've seen this kind of story before where a kid
So
climbs
Ethan,
in.
age 3,
Aww.
got stuck while out with family in Kapalaba, Queensland.
I could see Asher doing this.
100%. So he was rescued from inside a claw machine after the boy took matters into his own hands and climbed through the prize chute to claim his own stuffed toy.
Yep.
The 3-year-old named Ethan got stuck inside the claw machine on Saturday while out with his family at a shopping center. The body cam footage from police shows Ethan sitting among the stuffed toys behind the glass of the machine. The boy's father told reporters he had turned to speak to his other children when, in a split second, the toddler had crawled into the machine. Wow.
I promise it was more than a split second.
I had zero chance to react to it. It was unbelievable how fast he climbed up in there. I can so see that's Asher.
Yeah, but I'm also thinking Dad was not paying attention.
Oh, you have other kids for sure.
It was 5 minutes, and then I noticed.
After the initial shock and learning Ethan wasn't hurt, Hopper said his family found the ordeal amusing.
Of course, that's hilarious. I'd laugh right away.
Oh, for sure. When the reality sunk in, how am I going to get him out? Said his father. I messaged my old man and he asked me how many $2 coins I had. We can try and get him back.
Nice.
Oh my gosh. After calling the claw machine company, the police arrived at the shopping center. They had family direct the toddler to a corner of the machine and cover his eyes so the officers could smash the glass case.
Oh.
After busting the glass, an officer plucked the boy from the pile of stuffed animals and out of the machine to safety.
You couldn't get him to climb down the chute.
I know.
Like, I feel like it's like climb over the edge. Like, that's totally fine. But
the toddler, however, did not go home empty-handed. To mark the rescue, officers gave him a stuffed koala dressed as a police officer.
not a Hello Kitty doll from the like. That's
I
what he
mean,
climbed
it's
in there
Australia, and they gave him a koala, so...
for. Police officer koala. Do you think they use koalas as mascots for everything?
I'm sure they do. I've never been to Australia,
That's
but
so
it
cute.
seems fitting. I just found this to be so, like, just a little boy sitting in the Hello Kitty stuffed claw machine. Like, what?
That is. I love it. That's a good story.
It's impressive that the kid could fit up there, though, because, like...
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. The chutes must be really big. They must
It
be
must,
big
because they're
stuffed
stuffed.
animals,
Oh, yeah.
you know?
Yeah. Just 3-year-old boy just sitting there.
All right, so my second story is actually right up our alley. This is about a doctor who delivered a baby, but it was in the middle of a snowstorm in Iowa, and he drove his ATV to the hospital to be there for the family.
Wow. Okay.
Shenandoah, Iowa, a doctor went above and beyond the commitment to care when he braved a snowstorm to deliver the patient's baby. Crystal Gardner and her husband arrived at the medical facility around 8 a.m. on January 12th.
Sounds
That's
familiar.
the day our baby was born. She was scheduled for a C-section. The procedure had to be done that day, but snow had piled up in the sub-zero temperatures. He got the call. He knew he wasn't going to make it to the hospital from his home in time, driving a regular vehicle. So...
Why ATV? Why not your snowmobile? Come on, man.
Yeah, I actually think that a snowmobile would be way better.
I mean, we lived in the UP. People drove snowmobiles all the time when the snow was impassable and you couldn't drive a car.
He said he was able to clear snow drifts by hitting them at 20 miles an hour. He rode his ATV all the way there. Snow went everywhere, flying in all directions, but I just kept going through to the next one, said Dr. Brown.
Why am I just imagining this old man on an ATV clutching
more
a
fun.
doctor's bag like
He's
it's
actually-
the 1800s?
There's a local news report with a video, because this is local12.com, but it's a younger guy.
I'm sure it is. I'm absolutely sure it is. Driving an ATV.
The lady said, we knew he was going to get there. They all would get there for it. With everyone on hand, she gave birth to a healthy baby girl named Berkeley. It's kind of a cute name. She's a very good baby. We couldn't ask for more perfection, she said. Would you like to take a second to comment on the word good baby?
Oh my gosh, don't even get me started. I'm not going to say anything about that.
I'll say some stuff. People are always asking us, is she a good baby? Because we had a baby also on January 12th. That's a nonsense question, folks. There's
Baby?
There's no such thing as a good or bad babies. Babies don't hold up banks.
Babies
or,
are like literally
commit vandalism.
just... She was on a crime wave.
She was out there taping fish to ATMs.
She was really a bad baby.
She was doping at the Olympics. I just like babies are babies. They're like practically purely
They're
instinctual
literally running
creatures.
on instinct. Yeah.
They don't have. There's no good or bad. There's convenient or not convenient.
It's true.
All
Is your
babies
baby convenient?
good
Does she
babies.
sleep through the night? Is your baby inconvenient? Yes. She's very
a wonderful baby, even when she's inconvenient.
Oh my goodness. It's such a ridiculous question that we shouldn't even be asking parents. Oh boy.
This is, here's the funny part though to me. This isn't the first time that Dr. Brown has gone out of his way for his job. In fact, he has now made 3 deliveries by traveling in his ATV. So this is like a thing for
That's
him.
That's his calling card.
No matter what's coming, we're there to take care of the people, he said. The hospital posted on Facebook about the story. Apparently, so it's a really small town of 5,000 people. And the doctor talks about, he's like, I had the dream job. This is the best. I love driving my ATV to work in the snowdrifts to help out a family. Like, it's a cute thing, you know?
Interesting.
What is sponsoring your life today?
You know, I gotta say, it's been colder, but the sunshine poking out has been really nice.
Oh, yes.
January was pretty gray. We had a lot of snow, and now it's all melting, but that sunshine has been glorious.
It makes a huge difference. It can be so gray, and February, honestly, is just the worst, you know? Like, you're past all the big holidays, and it's just dreary. But yeah, the ability to soak up that sunshine anytime it pokes through, that's huge.
Yeah, it's been nice. So the sunshine today and yesterday and even the day before, like, it's just really, it's been nice.
That's a great sponsor.
How about you?
My sponsor is this little girl. No, she's giving me the look, though. No, actually, what's sponsoring my life is those crazy pretzels that we found.
Oh, yeah.
So I don't
went
even
to
know
Costco
what the
on
brand is. So
Thursday.
you said Costco?
They're, I don't know what brand it is, but I got them at Costco.
They are Girl Scout inspired chocolate covered thin mint pretzels. So they're just pretzels, chocolate covered pretzels.
They're
but
like
the chocolate
mint covered
thin
pretzels.
Mint.
Yeah.
They're ridiculously addictive.
They're very addictive.
Like, I have to cut myself off every time because I can eat the
We finished almost the whole bag already.
They're so
it's a
good.
giant bag from Costco.
Yeah, I have to limit myself because they're so good. So I don't know what they're called. I think they're just called Girl Scout.
Girl
Scout
cookies.
Can't talk.
Wow. Okay.
It's a good thing I don't podcast professionally. It's
true.
just amateur.
Yeah, Girl Scout
Thin
cookie.
mint pretzels.
Yeah, pretzels. Yep, they're
really
so good.
So that's sponsored my life today. For today's hot topic, I want to talk about your alma mater. That's the right word, right? Alma mater. It's the school you went to.
For my master's degree.
Yeah. So you and I both went to Calvin College, which is now called Calvin University. But then after that, we went down to Chicago, where I went to seminary, and then you got your master's degree from Wheaton College. Yep. And honestly, you had the better school experience. I didn't really like my seminary, but man, I loved Wheaton. Wheaton was awesome. You were the student,
a good school.
but I was married to the student, so I got to like hang out on the campus. All right, so let me ask you about your time at Wheaton. Did you enjoy the school? You were there 2 years, right?
Yeah, it was a 2-year program. I enjoyed it. It was a really good school. I had great professors, great program, and a lot of good content.
I almost feel facetious asking you because to me, Wheaton was amazing. Like the people who wrote the books I was reading were your professors, and I was super jealous. You were there, and I was like, "Can I come?" And I'd go pick you up and wait for you outside your class so I could loiter in the hallways because it was such an amazing institution. Good. Apparently, and I just learned this past week, but apparently Wheaton has been called the Harvard of Christian schools. But my question for you, which comes from the news story which went viral this past week,
yes.
Would you describe your experience at Wheaton College as woke?
No. I would say comparing Wheaton and Calvin, the two schools I've been at that have both been Christian schools, I would have said that Wheaton was even more conservative than Calvin.
Yeah, Calvin was pretty darn conservative.
And it was also like half the size, like student body wise.
Yeah,
like
small school.
It was smaller student body, smaller programs. Just overall, I would say considerably more conservative.
Yep. FoxNews.com came out with this op-ed from a guy named Tim. It's probably not even that hard. Schneiderer.
Schneiderer.
Oh, I bet that's it. Schneiderer. Tim Schneider wrote an op-ed for Fox News when the quote-unquote Harvard of Christian schools goes woke. The historic Christian faith has always upheld the goodness of the created order. So this article came out and sort of blew up on the internet in the last week or two. It came out on January 31st, and it was a whole big thing. And it went viral, and then Wheaton College actually wrote a open letter. I think the president wrote an open letter pushing back, and that blew up and went all over the place. And so,
I mean, I got an email from from the president,
from the school, so that put you onto it as well. So you read the article, yeah?
I did. Yeah.
So any initial responses and thoughts?
It was a really sloppy article. Like, it was very clearly an opinion piece. There wasn't any sourcing or anything. There's no citations. It was just pretty much just like, this is my opinion of, Wheaton as a school, and can you believe this? And they used a lot of incendiary terms, and like,
it was just like word salad of buzzwords.
It was like, this phrase that will make you angry as a Christian, and this phrase, and it was like, and where are you getting your information from? Like, it was ridiculous.
Well, and even if some of these statements are true, they're pulled way out of context.
Oh, so absolutely.
In the 2000s, the education department commended the teaching of Marxist. Okay, now commended, or was it required reading? Like you did, in 2016, 78 faculty members voiced support for a fellow professor who stated Christians and Muslims worship the same God. Okay, so not that they supported the statement, but they supported the professor who said that. And maybe that's not exactly what they said, right?
Oh,
if
my gosh,
what they said was taken out of context or whatever. 5 years later, the school held its first ceremony recognizing graduating minority students sans white students. Meaning,
yeah, they had I'm pretty sure that a lot of universities have done this. Like, they have an intercultural, or not a, they have a, like an intercultural graduation where it's like students from other countries who have graduation. It's just, I don't understand what the big deal is.
Yep, its most blatant offense against Christianity is banning certain biblical words that are keys to the faith's foundation. In this year's curriculum for freshmen, students are informed about opportunities to meet those needs regardless of the less fortunate. This is commonly known as acts of service. Wheaton, however, instructs students not to use the word service. Instead, they're going to use the word sacrificial co-laboring. Now, first up, if Wheaton is saying that, I do think that's kind of silly. They're saying that the reason given is service may invoke power dynamics across socioeconomic, racial, and cultural lines. So they're saying, don't call yourself a servant, call yourself a sacrificial co-laborer. I think it's silly, but I don't see that as challenging
it's
the
not
Christian faith.
Yeah.
My gosh. I don't know. I feel like there's a huge thing with colleges are trying to be more thoughtful. They're trying to be careful with their words, and definitely that causes problems. But we got to stop attacking colleges for trying to be thoughtful. You know, like, it's not a bad thing to try and come up with new terms or to understand how certain terms are understood. That's not a crime. It's certainly not challenging the Christian faith.
They're adapting. They're not throwing their whole, theology out the window.
Well, and it's a school, and that's the thing about higher education. And actually, so this goes back to one of my, a book I read years ago that I really like called The Coddling of the American Mind. And it talks about how in higher education we are running away from dialogue that we disagree with. And we're freaking out. And this is happening both on the right and on the left, although in higher education it does trend towards the left. But people are... It's like thoughts or words that I disagree with are violence to me. I can't handle it. But this is just the right doing the same thing. Yep. You have changed a word, and it's like challenging to my belief, and I cannot allow it. And it's like, good grief. It just, we have to be able to hear things we disagree with without melting down and calling it a challenge to the biblical faith. It's like, what? Wait, what?
That's very, very dramatic, and calm down.
Well, and so from the horror in public schools to the disenfranchisement in women's sports to the irreparable damage to people's bodies, it is evident that there is nothing to laud as beautiful or exemplary regarding transgenderism's impact. So it's just like randomly they just pulled that out of nowhere to be
like I said, incendiary phrases that the right disagrees with have nothing to do with this article or the school itself.
there's nothing, and it's like categorizing this reality as a non-moral choice or a situation to manage is less than wise, not to mention unbiblical. And it's like, so they just, it's almost like a weird fear tactic. It's like, we want you to be afraid of this institution. And Wheaton has like a long story, like Billy Graham graduated from Wheaton, you know, and it's just like this idea that you can just, there's nobody, what's that phrase? You ever hear the phrase "no enemies to the right"? It's this idea that like on the internet, as long as someone is more to the right as you are, they can't be wrong, right? But if anyone is to your left, then they are evil in the end of the world. And it happens in the other direction too. Progressives do this to each other all the time. It's ironic that they call it the Harvard of, or what was it? The Harvard of the Christian world or something like that? Yeah, the Harvard of Christian schools, because Harvard has had its problems concerning like the Hamas and Israel conflict that's been going on, and their president got in a bunch of trouble, and then there was the plagiarism scandal, and they got in trouble. And actually, they just had a case before the Supreme Court because of their horrible racial profiling that they were doing in their admissions practices, harming Asian American students. And so Harvard's had a whole bunch of problems, and I guess they're really just kind of taking Wheaton and trying to throw him under the same bus. But it doesn't fit. It just doesn't.
It doesn't. I have a hard time seeing that comparison.
Well, and it's so funny. Did you ever hear that phrase, Harvard of Christian schools, while you were there?
I mean, it's academically, it's a very good school. Like, I would say, like, it's Absolutely. A very solid education. Like,
and then Ed Stetzer was there. Esau McCulley was there. I mean, he's still there.
He's still there, yeah.
Yeah, Ed Stetzer went on to other things, but man, I mean, they have phenomenal people, brilliant minds.
I mean, it's very academically sound. It's a good school, but I never heard it called the Harvard of Christian schools.
So I feel like we can come at this from a whole bunch of different angles, but I think my first question is to deal with the word woke. Right, because they call it the Harvard of Christian schools, but then they call it, it goes woke. And I guess I have such a cringe reaction when I hear the word woke. Yeah. And yet, at the same time, I do find it very helpful to fit things into ideological camps, because I feel like those camps have moved so far apart. Like, I don't like the word woke. And yet, like I think about what books I want our children to read, right? Like, Liam is an avid reader. He's read practically every book I have ever read in my entire life. And it's getting to a point of, like, we go to the library and there's like, here's a whole series. And I'm like, yeah, but I don't know what's in it. You know, I don't know what kind of things are in here. Yeah. And I do not want to ever ask the question, well, is it woke? Or worse, is it anti-woke? Because that's probably not good either. And I don't really like these divisions into the camps, but there are very different worldviews that people approach. And so I guess I'm wondering, how do you feel about the word woke, and do you have any better suggestions?
I can't stand the word woke. I'm so tired of hearing that word.
It feels like a fear tactic.
It does.
You're trying to label.
And I mean, I'm not even saying I disagree with the essence of, you know,
the idea, right?
The idea. Like, I just stop using the word. Like, yes, I disagree with a lot of stuff that, you know, is existing currently, and I may not be on board with a lot of stuff, but, like, we don't have to use the word woke. We can just
I think as a Christian, I have a particular worldview, like, and, you know, a lot of this revolves around our children, and it's like, while they're still really, really young, before we've taught them the discernment of, because I know when they're older, they're going to bump into TV shows and movies and stuff that contain content that is not good. Right. But hopefully by then they'll be old enough to discern, oh, that's in this TV show, but that doesn't mean it's okay, right? Like, that's the goal, right? But while they're super young, I really would like them to be exposed to a worldview that's at least neutral. You know, I'm not saying it has to be overtly religious, but I'd love for it to be at least base level, you know, without shoving certain ideologies down their throats or whatever. And it's just, so I don't know. I just think, while I don't like the word, and I'm not a fan of fear mongering or labeling or being scared of people who disagree, I definitely don't. I find it sometimes useful to have the categories.
Right.
Yeah, so that was an interesting thing. The other element of it, so then Wheaton College actually responded. And so there's a USA Today article where the president of Wheaton wrote, and you got this email, right?
Yeah.
You got the email where he responded to the Fox News article, and he was fairly critical. It says a college known as, again, they use that phrase, the Harvard of Christian Schools, is clapping back at a Fox News opinion piece that claims the school has gone woke. Wheaton College, a private Christian liberal arts school just outside Chicago, issued a statement on Wednesday addressing the Fox News article, saying that they remain committed to Christian service. So the Fox article claimed that they were not using the word service or servant, and yet here they are using it. And that claims made about the college are false or misleading. Mm-hmm. Now, the guy who wrote the Fox News op-ed came from Bob Jones University, which I think is fairly interesting.
Mm-hmm. That is.
Do you want to give the primer on that?
You can talk about it.
Sure. So way back in the day, and I think this is actually really important, when people use the word evangelical, they don't seem to realize that there's actually two very different camps. Evangelical, there is evangelical, the political label, and then there's evangelical, the set of 4 beliefs. Bevington's Quadrilateral lists 4 different distinct values that most evangelicals hold to. And there's stuff like that scripture is authoritative, that you have to be born again and repent of your sins in order to and trust your life into Jesus' hands. Like, there's some really basic beliefs, and that's what makes you technically evangelical. Now, back in like the 60s and 70s, really you could define this as there were the Billy Graham evangelicals and the Bob Jones evangelicals. Yeah. And the Bob Jones were the more conservative, a little bit, I don't want to use the word culty, but they were just racist is really what it was. So Billy Graham evangelicals were united around the 4 core beliefs of being an evangelical, the basic beliefs of Christianity. But the Bob Jones people created these private institutions with a Christian label in order to avoid desegregating the schools. They wanted to have a whites-only school. And so that became a massive issue. I think it went all the way up to the Supreme Court or something like that. It was a whole big thing. But it was just, it's like Bob Jones University has kind of a really ugly history, and they've always been sort of the cultural Christians who have used Christianity as a cover for their kind of antebellum lifestyle, if you will. Yeah. And so this freelance writer who wrote the Fox News ed attacking Wheaton College, because you really can almost set it up as the Wheaton evangelicals versus the Bob Jones evangelicals, right? There's the cultural, and now in modern terminology, you could almost call them the MAGA evangelicals versus the Billy Graham evangelicals. Or the Billy Graham evangelicals versus the Franklin Graham evangelicals. Oh. Yep. And it's like, so that guy, the guy who wrote the Fox News app, he's from Bob Jones University. Right. So I think that really colors it. That really makes a mess of it. Personally, I used to use the word evangelical to describe myself because technically I do believe in the 4 core beliefs of an evangelical. But now that it tends to mean that you have to vote Republican. And I didn't want that label because it's like, oh no, when I say evangelical, I see that as a religious label, not a political one. Right. And if you see it as a political one, then I'm going to stop using the word, you know? Actually, it was Esau McCulley from Wheaton College, a black man, a brilliant professor, who wrote an article in the New York Times about that convinced me to stop using the word evangelical. Yeah. Because it was just like, no, this is not the right word for us anymore. Yeah. Yeah, and so the president, Philip Ryken, slammed the incendiary opinion piece, saying in the statement that it failed to meet the minimal standards for journalistic accuracy. Yeah, yeah. Burn.
It just wasn't a well-written article. No. But I mean, it's an op-ed. Well, I generally see most op-eds that way.
See, I think there can be really good op-eds, but this one was just a grab bag of flashy words designed to scare people.
Trigger words thrown out there on a page to incite fear and anger. And I mean, like, people were commenting. I must have like followed a link to like a Facebook posting of it or something, because a bunch of, I think it was somebody posted something on Wheaton's Facebook page. I don't have a Facebook, but I was able to follow the link to the thing, and it was everybody was like unfortunately, it was like, this is very disappointing since I went to Wheaton to hear about all this. And it's like,
people were attacked.
Are you really buying into it? This is an op-ed, right? But like, it doesn't matter. People will read it and run with it and be like, oh, well, that's disappointing. I went to that school and now they're woke or whatever. It's like, come on,
I just think
people.
It's so much of our life nowadays is deciding, does this put me on this team or that team?
Mm-hmm.
And if it's this team, I don't even bother reading the rest of it. I just automatically endorse it. And I just want people to think a little bit more. Just use your brain for 2 more seconds.
Vet your sources.
Yeah, well,
like,
and
a
even
lot.
in that op-ed, right? Ask questions. Where did you get that? What is it you're referring to? You say that they did this. Where? When did they do that? Was it an isolated incident?
Yeah, use discernment. Use some critical thinking skills that you hopefully got at a school like Wheaton if you really did go there.
Well, and like you went there. Did you get a good education there?
I absolutely did.
I would have expected that.
I think my education at Wheaton was, I'm still paying for it. It was a very good school, and I would stand behind their academics.
I was impressed.
Fully. I think it was a great school, and I did not ever feel like, I was compromised by, and who knows? I didn't go there for an undergrad. I went there for a master's degree. So I was at the higher level of education, but still, I felt it was a really good program, and I
think even, especially like in an election year, people, I feel like we get so tribal, and we really operate with our lizard brain. We don't operate with any kind of nuance. Nuance is just
there's only black and white.
Yeah.
There is no gray area. There is no room for discussion. It is your team versus my team, and I just need to see the lines so I know where I can stand, and I just throw everything else out.
And there's an ability to be like, I agree with this and I disagree. So let's say, for example, any of his I kind of think none of his statements are true, but even if 1 or 2 of them was true, like let's say Wheaton College is challenging certain biblical lines, right? And it's an official statement. I would be disappointing, but that still wouldn't change it's like, you have one professor who did something dumb or said something weird.
You have that at a lot of schools. Even at Calvin, I had professors where I was kind of like, wow, you're okay. And I disagree. And
I wouldn't feel that I'd have to cancel the entire university because they have one person on staff who said, I would almost applaud, hey, you have a diversity of opinion. Right. You guys aren't all robots who are towing the party line. Like, I don't know. I guess I want more.
I would still uphold and say, that was a great education. I really did have I learned a lot there, and I value that education. I wouldn't throw it all out just because of one professor who said one thing that maybe was not the best thing to say, or I disagree with, or not the smartest, but I'm not going to throw the whole thing out.
Well, and like you said, the article had 0 sources and 0 he just said things, and it was like, where did you get that? Is that true, or did you just make that up? And so if any or all of it was true, still it just, I don't know. I guess you don't have to be afraid of things that are slightly different. But yeah, I feel like, and again, I'm just coming back to that election year. You get to a point of like where it's a binary choice. You're for me or you're against me.
Absolutely. Yep.
And I just, and so and so did you hear the whole Alistair Beggs thing recently?
Yes, you were telling me about that.
Yeah. So for those listeners who don't know, Alistair Beggs is what is he, Scottish? I think his church is in like Ohio, and he's been there for a long time. Right. But he has a really heavy accent, which is lovely to listen to. So he had a radio program for a long time, and he had some people call in about, I'm a Christian person, and I don't agree with same-sex marriages. But I think it was a grandma who wanted to go to her granddaughter's wedding. And she's like, I don't agree. What can I do? What's the most loving thing to do? And he responded to it on his radio show. And he said, does your granddaughter know that your Christian values are in conflict with this marriage? Does your granddaughter know that you don't agree with it, and you've tried to talk to her about it and she's not listening? And it was like, yes, she knows this. She knows where I stand and all that. And then he encouraged the grandma. He was like, well, then you should go. And you should buy him a gift. And that, I think it was a transgender wedding. It was like a woman and then a trans man or something like that. And people lost their minds. His radio show got canceled. I mean, they're like, oh my gosh, Alistair Beggs is woke now and all this stuff. And it's like, he's still a super conservative pastor. but he got in so much trouble for suggesting that we use our brains and have compassion and have some nuance. And like, even if I disagree with his advice, which I'm not even sure if I do disagree with it, but I haven't really sat down and thought it through, but I think I like his heart, but I think I would have given different advice. But even if I disagree, it's like, at least he's trying. Right? He's not compromising his values. He's trying to figure out how to live them out in a loving way in a very complex and pluralistic society where not everyone is Christian. That's sort of our project, right? All right, the people around you are not necessarily the same as you. They're not all Christians. They don't have the same values. What should you do?
Right.
And I'm pretty sure the answer is not hate them and cancel them.
Oh my gosh, no.
So I don't know. I think it's a very common thing, but I thought it was a really good article that you found and brought to us.
It's interesting.
Yeah,
sure.
I'm bummed that they're attacking Wheaton because you had such a good experience.
I did. I really.
Well, I've heard similar things about Calvin, right? Like people are like, "Oh, Calvin's gone woke now," and I'm like, even if they have, which I don't think they have, but even if they have. We got a great education.
I had a great education.
I loved our time at Calvin. Well, I met you. I met lifelong friends, people I love. And okay, so some of them are more conservative than I am, and many of them are more progressive than I am. But they're still lifelong friends, and I value and cherish their opinions. And I am still able to worship Jesus.
Yeah.
And, you know what I mean? Like, it just...
Yep.
Yeah. So it was a fascinating attack on Wheaton.
Yeah, it is, yeah.
I'm bummed, but I think, honestly, here's my theory, that Wheaton's title as the Harvard of Christian schools got someone thinking, well, Harvard went woke and that broke them. So I bet we could attack Wheaton too for the same thing, just to make people afraid of being woke, make them run away.
It's definitely
that's my theory.
A trigger word to just get people going.
Got more clicks and likes, and it went viral, and it worked. I mean, as much of a bummer, if that was their goal, it totally worked. Everybody's talking about it. All right. Are you... that's all I had. Did you have anything else?
I didn't have anything else.
All right. Are you ready? Oh, thanks so much to... I almost said Music Town, but that's our old theme song. Thanks to whoever does our new theme song.
Thanks, person.
I did notice we got an extra rating on... I think it was on Spotify.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, somebody else gave us a 5 stars.
Cool. Thank you.
It was not a written... not a review,
was just the 5
stars. And I was
That's
like,
okay.
woohoo.
We'll take it.
So, yeah, I'll take it. So,
nice.
Anyways, thanks so much. We love making this podcast. We hope you love listening. It's just fun to hang out and tell goofy stories and hot topics and whatnot. Are you ready to send us out with the mom joke of the week?
Yes.
What do you got?
What does December have that no other month does?
Snowmen. I don't know.
The letter D.
Was that true? Oh, yeah, it is.
Yeah, I had to think about it and make sure this was a correct
So it's
joke.
not so much a joke as just like a fun fact.
Okay, sorry.
Oh,
See you next week.
bye, everybody.